In the spirit of our pledge to keep our clients updated with the latest technology, we'd like to welcome you to this technology update on Centralpoint. Today's date is March 20th, 2014. In today's technology update, we would like to cover Gartner research and their coverage on Oxcyon and Centralpoint relating to user experience platforms. We'd also like to discuss improvements to our responsive design, policies and procedures. We'd like to introduce our forms wizard, also a module suite known as health logs. We'd like to discuss data sources, jQuery, and more, and hope that this is beneficial for your organization. If you have any questions about this video, please contact your production manager at Oxcyon. So the very first thing we'd like to discuss today is Gartner's release of a new term in the IT world called user experience platform. In essence, what they're finally recognizing is that all of these technologies, content management, portal, single sign-on, reporting, analytics, collaboration, crosswalks, social media tools, should all merge into one big Uber technology. And the good news is, as you know, as a Centralpoint client, you've already been running such a tool for years, so we're kind of ahead of the pack. Gartner has featured Oxcyon in their market scope for user experience platforms, and in it they refer to us as having the strongest vision and architecture of anyone in the industry. It also says we have a broad collection of modules in a single product architecture, which offers an off-the-shelf support. It says we're smaller than Oracle in Microsoft, which we are, but we're very proud of that coverage, and we like to at least reinforce to our clients that we think you've selected the right platform, and we're very grateful to Gartner for their recognition. We encourage you to visit Gartner.com if you don't already have a membership. Sign up, get access to that report. It's very important. They also have a lot of other valuable research that can help you determine your long-term IT strategy. Okay, so that's User Experience Platforms, or UXP. The other big thing we want to talk about today is responsive design. On everyone's mind, it's quite the buzzword. We want to talk about how we do it and how it works. So this is our demo site. And I'm going to shrink this guy down, just kind of shrink it down, and you'll notice that everything's shrinking down with it, and retooling, resizing. So what we've done is we've created a site that is completely responsive, and that means that anyone who's running Centralpoint can do the very same thing. And to do that, that was some pretty big surgery for us, because the initial release of Centralpoint was in tables. So every one of the sections, your masthead and your right section, left column, footer, everything was in a table before, so we had to consider some pretty major surgery to be able to switch from a table to a div. This is in the Styles module under Design. So the first step was, how do we convert our tables to divs without breaking anything? Second of all, how do we go one step further so that once it's creating divs, that we can consider what we call hybrid, because we have to consider multiple media queries for multiple devices. And what this means is, based on how many devices you want to service, maybe it's mobile devices, maybe it's iPads, maybe it's Blackberries, So we can now define these various devices and set up different conditions for their width and whether they should show flash or not, and what should happen in that type of an environment, so that we now have one design that's very intelligent that can service all these devices. We also support something called custom styles. This does certain commands like any image that's too big, well, shrink it down. Any flash element serving to an iPhone, don't show it. So this makes it more intelligent. We encourage you to take a look, if you're curious how this works, take a look at the help file, because there are some prerequisite steps to setting up a responsive design. Because you're switching from tables to divs, well, we have to reconsider the width of things. We can't just give fixed width to things. We have to get back to percentage-based widths. That's a tongue twister. So that we can now, as that thing expands and contracts, it's going to resize properly, and it's not going to have any fixed areas to prevent it from shrinking down. So although it's definitely a brilliant solution to the responsive issue, it still requires, I think, a little expertise in which to do this. The second part of this is setting up the site so it's a rubber band. Okay, that's easy. But then we have to determine all the old records that you've put in over the years. how are we going to determine where those all are? If you have a page with some big wide fixed width in it, how are we going to figure that out? So we've created a tool under development called Content Audit. Now this would likely be a tool our analysts would use to audit your site. And this audit's going to rip through all of your records and determine, all right, these are pages which are suspect in the new responsive world. So they're going to have to painstakingly go through each instance, change some of these fixed widths here to percentages where applicable. And once this report is flushed out where we have nothing to report on, then we know we're done. And this is our kind of quality approach to saying to you, here's your responsive site, because we have a way to make sure that there's nothing hiding from the old days that have been done. So that's kind of importance. Okay, some other features we want to talk about. For one, forms. Now forms are a big deal. If anyone has set up forms, you will know that setting them up is rather cumbersome. Setting up the labels of the form, the actual CP scripts to render the text box for the form. We have the validation fields for the form. So setting one of these up is kind of a pain. And as someone fills it out, of course, we say thank you for submitting your new form, and we go on our way. And then we might even route that information via email to a supervisor, and we might even process some database or module. So form setting these up, of course we have the ability to copy a form and make it easier, so if there is something similar we can get a head start. But the bottom line is forms is a bit of a pain. So what we've developed is a new tool called Forms Wizard. Now Forms Wizard allows us to create a new form. I'm just going to call this new form 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all of the defaults, the padding, whether I want it in divs, do I want it in tables, how many pages is my form, is it a 2-page form, 1-page form? Basically, this tool will save you a lot of time, and it allows you to determine, how many text boxes do you want, how many drop downs, how many file uploads, maybe I want some caption in there. So it's a wizard that walks you through this questionnaire to say, okay, what are the names of your form? The fields. Are they required? What is the validation? And of course these are different drop-down lists, and drop-down 1, upload your picture, So basically, as we fill this out, it is collecting all of these values that you would normally have to manage within scripts. We even have the ability to say, look, later do we want this value to be included in the email to the person getting the notification. So it's a very handy tool. It then allows us to create the kind of the layout of these fields. So in this case, I'm going to say I have 5 fields, so I want to break that up into 2 rows, and I'm going to have 2 fields on row 1 and 3 fields on row 2. Basically, this is what gives you the control to place your various fields on the page, whatever they might be. And here you see me doing that. So the next page might show me a preview of that form. So here's my form. It actually works. It then asks me all the workflow questions, like who might receive the form, when they get the form, do we want to have a subject line, all of that kind of information. I'm just going to say no to a lot of this stuff, and it should create my new form. So here's my new form. If I want to preview that new form, here it is. It's ready to go. And I can now copy that as you normally would and go place it on my site, and it now works. Once that's created, you will see it in the list of forms. Let's go check out our new form 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is right there. And so, if you happen to have forgotten something in the wizard, you can go in here and add what you need to add. What's great is that a lot of these fields, like, when emailing this to a person, those will all be populated. All the fields are already ready to go. So it's just a lifesaver and a time saver. We've done some analysis internally. A form that might take you an hour or 2 to set up properly might trim down to about 5 to 10 minutes. So we think that that's definitely a noteworthy thing to talk about today. The other thing we'd like to talk about is policies and procedures. Now, a lot of clients might already be using this, and if you are, just fast forward. Policies and procedures is a 2-part module. It basically says, let's manage all of your policies relative to certain manuals. So this allows us to group your policies by manual. Here are all the policies that belong to that manual. But policies get very, very deep because we're dealing with document management. And by the way, we call it policies, but you really could use this for anything, contracts, any kind of documents you want to store, so that as we're recording the policy, we're grouping it to which manual it belongs to. Now, this is very interesting because you might have 10 different manuals, and in each one of those manuals, you have a repetitive policy. Well, this means that we've eliminated that. We can now have one policy show up in 4 different manuals, so that if you change the one policy, all 4 manuals will be updated. So a lot of thoughts gone into this module. We might need to convert this record to a PDF for read-only purposes. We may have to set up reminders. This is a neat feature. I might want to say that 30 days before this record expires, I want to send an email to a particular someone, in this case, Cheryl, that's going to say, Cheryl, you're 30 days away from this thing expiring. Let's not let it expire, okay? So this allows us to, set up these conditions around the start and end date of these records so that people are automatically notified. We're also tracking the history for compliance of these things as they change. Now, the neat thing about policies is that, let me go to the front end to show you. We can see now how the various policies have been changed over time. I'm just going to log in here. And I'm going to go to policies. Here I'm going to my procedural manual. So again, just to illustrate, the manual is a collection of all of these little policies that belong to it. If I wanted to say, hey, download the manual right now. Well, what it's going to do is it's going to dynamically merge all of those little policies into one big fat book. And now we have our procedural manual. Here it is, page policy after policy. So we know that it's fresh off the press and it's really well done. Okay, back to policies. The individual policy itself, we can actually track who has changed it, when was it last approved, exactly what happened, what did they add, what did they delete, who approved it. So the whole deep, document management workflow down to the signature of the people who are approving it are built in. So this is a great feature. Here I'm going to click on Suggest a Change. I'm just going to remove this content here, and I'm just going to put in the words ice cream, just so you can see that we're controlling not just what was added, but what was deleted and any change to formatting. So what we've done here is we're saving a draft of this document. So the record has not been updated yet. We saved a draft, and we emailed it to the person who's in charge of reviewing it. So this is an example of workflow. Here we've received an email, 3:42 p.m., that says that John changed this document here. Okay, and what he did was he added the word ice cream, and he took out the state of Washington. And so right here from the email, now some of the content you're sending for approval would not be found in the body of the email. It might be too sensitive to do that. Instead, it might say, administrator, click here to log in to review John's changes, if it were secure. So we have a lot of different options. I may choose to approve that, deny that. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off with my mouse here. And I'm using, by the way, a wireless mouse that has very crummy control. Normally it looks a lot better than that. But I've signed the document, I've approved it, it's now releasing it, sending it back to where it belongs. So again, what most people are used to doing is volleying these Word documents back and forth to one another and trying to, herd the latest Word documents. We can definitely do that kind of thing, but what we prefer to do is to look at content as a living, breathing organism so that as a change is made, we can prompt, the change. And it's a nice fluid change to the same singular document. So let me just reload this page just to show you what we did. And sorry for taking this one too long, but this particular module goes very deep, and you'll see that we have certain changes here. Okay, down here at 342, John made a change approved by Mr. Sample. Here are the details of specifically what was changed. We added the words ice cream in green. We removed state of Washington. And the chicken scratch down here represents my signature based on my wireless mouse. Okay, so that's policies and procedures. A lot you can do with that. And again, if you think just for a moment of how you might group certain documents, well, we can build collections of any kind of documents. If we want to see all the contracts that are related to this group here, known as the new wing to the hospital, well, we can now manage all the contracts for that project. We might even want to see all the changes that took place between contractor and legal over a period of time. So policies, the label is used rather loosely because it's very versatile. This typical suite is normally sold as a separate standalone suite. The setup of this is really big. We're not trying to overprice or overcharge. It's just that setting up a policies procedures suite, doing the import, setting it up is a lot of work, but once you do, it's definitely well worth it. Now here's another module I think you might find interesting. It's called logs. Now it can be used for any kind of report tracking. Here in this example you see us doing health tracking. So we're tracking my calories and I'm saying, okay, here's how much I've eaten each day of the week. I might even put in notes that, this day I had pizza or this day I had whatever, and I'm saving my changes. So by tracking things on a periodic basis, everything from my workout to my diet to my gas mileage, I can now see how I'm doing. Am I doing well? Am I trending up, trending down? I could even set up alerts to notify me that, hey, you're not meeting your goals. So logs is a really interesting tool. Some of our clients have been using this for the employees of the hospital to compete to be the healthiest employee on campus. So everyone has these tools, and perhaps the winner might get a prize or something. So that's something that we'll see in the intranet typically. Okay, other things that are interesting, I think, are the reporting tools. And part of this kind of future vision of data is data visualization. For those of you unfamiliar, we have a tool called data sources. Now, data sources, normally your analysts will use this to summon and present certain types of data, whether it be lists of who's taken tests or the top 10 articles, whatever the case might be. But we've since built in a series of tools that support jQuery. And jQuery is a very nice way, elegant way of showing live data in these types of graphs and visual tools. That was a line chart. Here's one of my favorite, the area chart, and so on. So basically what this is a really slick way of showing data that's found in our site here. Here's another neat little jQuery thing we've added, which is a grid view of certain data that's able to be searched and sorted and paginated. And so as I search this type of thing here for the word Oxcyon, or I search the word John, it'll just trim down and show me what I'm looking for. So these tools here, just to show you how they work, so we're selecting certain content from Centralpoint, or dare I say, we might be selecting certain content from one of your other databases. Wherever we're pulling the data from, what we need to do is we need to spit it out in a fancy way. And in this case, we're saying spit it out in jQuery, where we're going to show these values of what was collected, and we're going to show that chart in a certain width and a certain height, and it's going to spit out that nice looking chart. So a lot of these templates and a lot of these charts that we have are found in the help file. You can upload your own themes, so as we run into new themes, you can upload those in here. So this is just a great way, I think, of visualizing data, spitting it out for the user, and that's a terrific improvement there. Another very interesting improvement to data transfer, this was not on our agenda for today, but I thought I'd bring it up. For those who use data transfer, as you know, this is a tool that allows you to collect, actually you could pull information in or out of Centralpoint, doesn't matter which. Data, I normally show data transfer as a data import tool, but it will push it out in the same way. So normally we'll show this and show, okay, we're going to import in Excel content or Oracle content or OLEDB or delimited text. We're pulling in raw data to fill up a module, and it will allow us to map the data to bring it in. But the new one that I want to introduce is right here, this little guy right there called File System. This was in our update notes some time ago, but it's really remarkable because this will actually pull in raw files from a shared network drive. You might have PDFs, Word documents, all kinds of stuff sitting around. We can actually reach out to that file folder, pull in all of the contents of that folder, and then map those files into Centralpoint. Let me show you how this thing works real quick. So I'm going to go into this module called Generic A. Here you'll see we have PDFs and videos and spreadsheets, all kinds of crazy files. And I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete these as well. Okay, and this is kind of like a cooking show. Over here in data transfer, I have a utility called migrating files from just some shared network drive into one of these modules. So I'm going to say, okay, let's import this in. You'll notice that we're using the file system type. Very neat. So it's pointing to a file that lives somewhere that Centralpoint can get to. Might be a file folder. Within that file folder, we might have all kinds of sub-file folders. Because if you think about it, if you were to zip up a file or have everything living under a parent file, there could be thousands of subfolders and sub-subfolders underneath. So what Centralpoint's going to do is it's going to look at that parent directory. It's going to go through all of the subdirectories underneath. It's then going to ask us, where would you like to put this stuff? So here's our little preview pane up here. By the way, if you wondered where that was, hide source, show source. That shows us all of the little columns here that I'm importing in from. The name of the file, the length of the file, all that kind of stuff, what type of file it is. And let me just find one we can all agree on here. I'm going to find this one right here that's called extension. So here we see the different extensions of the files. So just to show how this works, I'm going to take extension and I'm going to put that into my body copy here. So I'm going to say extension goes into body copy. We're going to hit the button. Normally I'd have to map all of these out, but it was already set up. Sucking in all those records, 33 records are being brought in of various types. And it's done. So now when I go ahead and look at Generic A, here are all of the new files that just came in at 3:51 p.m. If I go ahead and open up any one of them, here's my title, here's my description. Under body copy, you'll see my extension, just so you saw how that mapping works. And there's the file right there that we can now download. So even though this is a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet, well, we can still search for it. We'll find it in a search. We can find it, download it, and get to it. So a lot of neat things happening there. Another little FYI, few clients know about this. I really have to bring it up. Very important. It's a module called Sponsored Keywords, and you'll find it located under the Advertising section of your site. This is a pretty powerful module. We've got some big plans for this coming out in future releases. And let me show you what it does. I'm going to put in the word hand. Well, I want to make sure I don't already have one there. I do have hand twice. How about that? Okay, let's put, let me find one that we don't have. And I'm going to call this stomach. Stomach might, so whenever I see the word stomach, that word, I might want to have a hot link or hyperlink on it that will point me to a certain place. So I'm just going to, for right now, I'm just going to say that's Google, just for the demonstration. And I might put in here, click here for more on the stomach. Okay. Now, I could have said which groups, what channels, what types of people see that, but just for the demo, I want to show you how this thing works because it really is amazing. This is something called reverse hyperlinking. And this means that when I search that word, and I'm searching the word stomach, it's going to bring back all of these results, for all these different things. Now, when I click on any of these pages, well, actually, you can see some of these lighting up here. You'll see that the word stomach is hyperlinked. It's hyperlinked there and over here. And each one of these links, if I click on it, it'll take me to Google. So I'll just open it up so you can see that it went to Google. But this is amazing stuff because this means that one hyperlink managed in one place affects all of these different instances. There it is right there. Here's another one right there. So you could literally manage one hyperlink that affects all of the records in your site. This allows you to build more of a knowledge base, more of a Wikipedia type library. And the future releases for this will allow us to further specify that whilst in one module, news, you may only want to show links from, physicians or events, wherever that word shows up, it just automatically will link. So that's very neat. This is also a neat one. I have relevance turned on in my search results for demo purposes to show that when we do searches, we actually do a very strict relevance weighting system to determine which has highest relevance and which has lowest relevance based on the volume and prominence of the word stomach in this case, so that our search relevance is quite extensive. But a lot of people don't know about that keyword thing. Another thing you might not know about is this right here. Let me go back to the console, log in, and we have a new module that we released about 2 or 3 updates ago called Search Redirect. Now, what is this and how would that differ? What we're saying here is that instead of just dumping out the algorithm results to someone, we want to control what they see. So what we're doing here is we're saying when someone types in the word heart, let's send them to this different place because we don't want to give them the normal results. So let me search. I'm going to search foot to get the normal results. Here's all the foot records. Now I'm going to put in heart. And instead of the normal results, it's going to say, not so fast. We want to send you right to this page where we have heart articles, heart information from Staywell, heart events, heart videos, more about the heart, whatever we want. Now this too is this presentation you see as a tool. We have dynamic tabs. This is a tab display that allows you to control that sort of thing. So we might show all of our heart doctors, events happening in the heart center. Another neat thing regarding search, again another factoid you might not know about, is this. If I search the word fast food, the results are going to come back and present to me links for cheeseburgers and milkshakes. So how did it know to do that? Well, in the back end, if we take a look at this, we also have something called advertising. And I know it's a strange name for it, but that's really what it was originally designed to deal with, because if someone were searching a site for the word fast food, well, we'd want to present this cheeseburger feature in the left above the navigation on the site. So just again, some neat tips. There's a lot to the product, as you know. Just thought this might be helpful as part of the technology update. Again, if you have any questions, please contact your production manager at Oxcyon. As mentioned, we are committed to keeping our clients ahead of the rest with the best digital tools available. All of these improvements and enhancements are part of your update and part of the maintenance that we provide, and we thank you very much for your time.